Next up, we've got Andy Gray.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Richard, and thank you, everyone, for organising this very nice workshop. It's very nice to meet you all and see what you're doing. So, yeah, I'm Andy Gray. I'm a postdoc from the Université de Compiègne in the north of France. I'm going to be showing you some of my postdoctoral work. So, there's been a slight change to the title of this talk. Sorry about that. The main difference is I've changed the word from PDE to functional. So, having PDE in the title kind of gives the impression that we're using partial differential equation to get a solution here, which we're not. Our target applications are surrogate models for PDEs, which was the point of the original title, but instead we just changed it to functional. So it's essentially a conformal prediction method, multivariate one, that scales to functional models. I'm just going to first give you, very quickly, the kind of PDE surrogates we're interested in. So these neural operator models have become quite popular for generating predictions of partial differential equations. So a couple of things, they're not physics informed. So they're just standard supervised learning, but they're really efficient for learning mappings between functions. And they're kind of like convolutional neural networks, but the convolutions have been replaced by kernels. And yeah, they've been applied in quite complex applications. For example, you can see the Navier-Stokes equation here, also in weather modeling and also in nuclear fusion. Yeah, so we're going to try to apply some guaranteed conformal bounds on these types of models. I'm just going to give you the kind of problem statement. It's just the standard split conformal prediction setup. So you're essentially given one of these models, and you're also giving a set of calibration data. The main difference here is that we're going to be working in the space of functions. So yeah, you'd like to generate this prediction set in this function space with the conformal guarantee. And just to note that although these models do operate in the function space, in function spaces, in practice they are discretized. So and below is basically just a pictorial representation of what we like to do. You're given some predictions on some extra data, and you'd like to generate some bounds on these predictions. But it's just to note that this space here is actually discretized. But it's discretized in very, very high dimensionals. Okay. So we've heard a lot about conformal prediction. I'm just going to say a couple of things about it. Generally, these nonconformity scores, they can be pretty much anything. So you could have some multivariate or nonlinear score, except there's this step in conformal prediction where you need to take a level set of the score, right? So you have this Q, which is this, so it's a quantile of the p-values, and then you need to compute like a level set of it. And this is quite complicated if S is challenging. So often people use quite simple scoring functions. For example, just the residual, its level set is just the prediction plus or minus some value. So this is quite challenging if you want to do some very high dimensional conformal prediction. What S can you pick such that you can get an easy level set? So what we're doing, we propose, is kind of like, in some sense, the inverse of conformal prediction. So it's not that we begin with a nonconformity score, but we begin with a defined set of sets, right? So that you're going to have this nested sets, and then the challenge is instead to compute its membership value, right? So instead of it being complicated to compute a level set, we instead are going to compute this membership value. Just a quick summary of how we're going to do this. So on the left is just the steps, and on the right is just the pictorial form of it. So you essentially just take your data and your predictions, and you do a pointwise difference. So you compute some errors, and then you get this sort of distribution of errors. Then we're going to do a dimension reduction, something like an SVD, and project it onto a lower dimensional space. So imagine you get some data set that looks like this. Then we're going to fit like an enclosing set on that data, right? So this is going to be some set which is guaranteed to include all of these calibration points. In this work, we're going to use a type of set called zonotopes for some properties I'll mention. But you could, in general, use any type of set. And then also, additionally, we're going to compute this point, PZ. So it's going to be the point that's going to be very close to the data's mode, right? So analogous to like Bayesian analysis, this PZ point kind of serves as our our Bayesian mode, right? Okay, then we're just going to calibrate it with conformal prediction, and you get some sort of picture like this with these nested level sets, and they're going to have a conformal guarantee. Then, just to try and make sure that our method is guaranteed, we're going to bring back the data that we removed from the truncation and just form a very simple bounding box. Take a Cartesian product with our sets, and when we project it back, we will have this functional prediction guaranteed to predict with this conformal guarantee. Excuse me. Zonotopes. So this is the type of the class of sets that we're going to base our conformal prediction sets on. So if you're not familiar with them, what are they? They're essentially a class of convex sets. They're like polytopes, but they have some additional symmetry constraints. What you can think of them as is if you take a box in n dimensions and then just any linear transformation, a zonotope is something that can be reached from this operation. And I just have some examples of zonotopes here. So you can have some boxes, rotations, and also these sorts of sets with additional linear constraints. Then the nested collection of sets is defined as thus. It's fairly simple. It's just you just take one of these zonotopes, and then you take a point pz within that zonotope, and then the family of sets is just defined as a linear combination between the point and the zonotope. So essentially, as you vary alpha, the center of the zonotope, it moves on a line from the original center to pz, and then the generator matrix. So the zonotope essentially is just scaled linearly with alpha. And yes, this way you can get it's quite nice family of nested sets. But one thing to note is that this is not calibrated with respect to anything. So essentially, it's just a definition of some nested sets. And then essentially the task is to try and define this parameter alpha such that it relates to some random variable of interest. This basically boils down to finding a monotonic function, kind of like a CDF for these alphas. So on the right here are three families of sets with the same zonotope and the same pz, but all I do is I change this monotonic function, and you can get quite dramatically different results. So essentially, yeah, the task is basically to find this CDF S, and we're going to use conformal prediction to do so. And there's a couple of ways to interpret these sets. So you can interpret them as like nested random sets, where S is CDF. So essentially, if you were to take a random sample from the CDF, you'd get a random zonotope. This may seem a bit strange, but this interpretation allows us to sort of propagate further these sets, right? So if you have a function f and you would like to propagate these sets through f, then it's just a simple transformation of the set where alpha is remained the same. And we use this property for propagating back through the SVD, right? So essentially, you can take one of these sets, push it back through the SVD, and alpha is remaining the same. Okay, how would you go about fitting these sets to some data? Well, I haven't really found too much in the literature, so I've come up with two perhaps a bit naive ones. If anyone is aware of a better way to do this, I'd very much like to speak to you. But essentially, I have two methods, quite simple. One is you take the data, you perform an SVD, this axis aligns the data, and then you can take a simple bounding box, project it back, you get a zonotope, and then you can calibrate. This is what's nice about the method on the left is that it can scale to many dimensions. A disadvantage of it is that you're always going to get like a box, right? So you're going to have the same amount of generators in the zonotope as you do principal components in the data. The other one will give you more general zonotopes. Essentially, you just take a simple convex hull of the data, and then you can over-approximate it with a zonotope. So this is slightly more general, a bit more accurate, but it's challenging to scale. Because when you do this conversion between zonotope and convex hull, you need to change between this vertex and H representation of the polytope, and this is very expensive. And then this point PZ, it's kind of, you would like to pick a point with like high data depth, right? So data depth is kind of like the opposite of an outlier, right? So like it would be a point that's high, that's very highly within the data. And to do this, you can basically take some data depth metric, for example, the Tucky depth, or this Malo-Nabis depth, and then just find the maximum point. Okay. So yeah, you're now able to fit these sets and get a point PZ, and now you need to calibrate. And we're going to use conformal prediction. So yes, it's basically the same as conformal prediction, except we have a parametric set of family, and you like to find this the depth of the data in this family of sets. So doing this exactly is quite expensive. So you basically need to vary the set until the calibration point is no longer inside. So, but there's a very simple method that you can perform, which is that you just discretize alpha, and you create a discrete number of these zonotopes, and then you just check the point in each of those in that grid. And this is conservative. So just to show you that it's conservative, on the left, I'm showing you the same calculation, but for different discretization levels. And essentially, all of the sets have this conformal guarantee. And on the right is just showing you this process for just 3 examples of some data. Okay. The final step to bring this back into sort of functional land is, okay, so yes, you take your data, you point these errors, then you perform an SVD, you separate them into high variational components where you do this process of fitting these nested sets. And then with the rest of the data, which is going to be this high dimensional component, you can fit a simple hyperrectangle. And then you can do a simple Cartesian product of the hyperrectangle and these nested sets. And you can use this quite nice property of Cartesian products, which is essentially that the indicator function can be decomposed like such. And because all of the calibration points are in the hyperrectangle, this right component of the indicator function is always going to be 1. So it kind of has no effect on the calibration process. So this is quite nice. Essentially, this high dimensions, when you take the Cartesian product, you get this high dimensional zonotope, and it's going to maintain this conformal guarantee. And then to bring it back to the space, you can just invert it through the SVD. What you get is a zonotope in the original space, and what you're seeing here is sort of the axis projection of that set, right? So it is like a zonotope in like high dimensional space, and then to plot it, what I do is you just do the axis projections, which is what you're seeing there. Okay, I'm just going to show you some experiments, and so we've taken some experiments from literature, and just for a fair comparison to other multivariate conformal prediction methods, I have some low dimensional cases and then some PDE cases. What you're seeing on the top there is essentially just is the Burger's equation, just to show you what it's like when you apply this on a real problem. Sorry, it's a very boring results table, but essentially on the left are the coverages, so everything's, it's not, just to check that everything works. And on the right, I'm showing you the efficiency. So the way we measure the efficiency is by measuring the volume of the prediction set. So what you can see is that the first 5 or so examples are the low dimensional cases, and our method's not the best. In fact, we find that the ellipsoid method is the one that is most performant in this domain. But then when you go to the PDE cases, the copula and the ellipsoid method basically no longer are able to produce answers. There's another method that does scale well, but it produces quite conservative results. I've been calling it the modulation method, but I've seen other people in this conference call it the MCP method. Essentially, it's where you take a maximum over some univariate scores, and then you just use that as a global score. But yes, we are several orders of magnitude more efficient than this method. Okay, just some conclusions to finish up. So basically what I've shown you is a conformal prediction method based on zonotopes. So this is still marginal coverage, right? Our prediction set is multivariate, but we're still working with marginal coverage. But the main point of it is that it's scalable to high dimensions. So you can work it on these, you can apply it to these neural operator class of models, but we're also quite performant in lower dimensions. And it's, I could argue that it's quite a compact representation for probabilistic uncertainty, right? So all it requires is a zonotope in dimensions of point pz and then this CDF function, and then you're able to perhaps capture some form of probabilistic information. So it may be useful in other settings. And you can also, it's not so difficult to generalize this to other set representations, perhaps if you would like to use some more aggressive dimension reduction. So yeah, the sets you're seeing here are called polynomial zonotopes. They're just a bit more, you can see they're non-convex and so on, but yeah, perhaps it's interesting to generalize this method to these. So, thank you.
Questions for Ander?
Have you tried to make it adaptive, like towards conditional cover sound?
No, it's a very good idea. Yes, definitely a next step. Yeah. Yes, yeah. Currently, the prediction sets are the same size for all predictions. Yeah.
Probably first question a little bit more basic. So, why exactly zonotopes? Because you can compute inverse transform efficiently, or why is the reason it's special shape?
Yeah, there's two reasons. One is you can perform linear transformations very easily. So, for example, the SVD. So if I have a zonotope on one side of the SVD, I'm able to very easily compute the transformation. And then the Cartesian product. So the Cartesian product of two zonotopes is also a zonotope. It's you have this generator matrix, and it's just a concatenation of the two generator matrices. So it's very, very easy to, and we use these two properties.
So if you had a nonlinear dimension reduction approach, would the same kind of thing work, or is it dependent on the linearity of PCA? Yeah,
not really. Yeah, it relies on PCA. If your dimension reduction was nonlinear, then you would get perhaps sets that look like this. I don't know, but you would need some set representation that could capture the nonlinearity, or perhaps over approximate it with a zonotope. So some people do bound these like nonlinear functions using zonotopes and such. So perhaps yes, and that is interesting because we're working with tensorial data. So when we do the SVD, we sort of flatten the data out, right? So you lose some information when you do this. So I think other dimension reduction techniques will improve things as well. Yes. Thank you.
Great. So let's thank Ander again.